What?
No.
No.
No, the metaverse.
Well,
Me yawning right now.
this is welcome to our new podcast. Nick Nisidas.
Nick, would you like to give any words?
Words of wisdom? Or?
Yeah. Just any words.
About. I mean, you have to give me a prompt.
Just say some words
Nick,
for us.
Jesus.
It's about some Hebrew, Nick.
Yeah.
Ruach Elohim.
Wait, speak John 3:16 in Hebrew.
I did.
That's
All right. First of all, John 3:16 was written in Greek.
That's what I was.
Yeah, okay.
This is actually an interesting topic.
How is John 3:16 taken out of context?
Is John 3:16 taken out of context? I don't
All the,
think John 3:16 is taken out of context. That's why we use it so much. It's kind of just one of those verses that is true no matter what.
I just thought we want to. Whenever we pray for country, I want to get
Go on.
You want to elaborate?
I don't want
Ow.
What are you guys recording a podcast?
It was finally Chad.
Your first lecture.
Today,
I don't know.
this might shock you. I was actually recording a 45-minute long video about
What, Nick?
about degrees of sin.
No, I thought God judged all sins.
what?
There are no.
Yeah, that's not true actually.
Well, okay, so isn't there just like sin, and then there's like the one you can't do, which is like turn away from God. Aren't like all the other ones the same?
of the Holy Spirit last time.
Blasphemy.
Yes, and then all the others is just the same, right?
No.
Well, what's the difference?
The difference is that bigger sins are going to separate you from God more than
You
others.
fall away from. So they're not in
Because-
God's eye one sin.
Yeah,
Like individually the sin, but some sins cause you
All sin
to
condemns you.
sin more,
Yeah,
right?
that-
Some
I
sins
kill
make you
Sam.
fall.
Well, if I hit Sam, it's
James
the same
3:2
thing.
says, "For we all stumble in many small ways. We all stumble in many ways." It's not the same as
So what
bigger
if we
sins.
stumble over murder the same way Clark may stumble?
You don't
on punching.
stumble over murder.
You just stumble. You just bang.
You can stumble into saying bad words. You can stumble.
You're just walking around. Just boom. Just
What about
you
sin?
One
forget.
sin individually
And-
and compared to one sin individually is the same, but some sins cause you to
Like
sin
there's the
more.
kid
right?
lying over there, but if it's
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like,
I would make the argument. If
for
you,
both, obviously.
well, that's kind of a different subject.
Hypothetically, I'm just trying to boost my KD and
so like,
Because if you're arguing that all sin is the same, you would probably have to make the argument that it sounds like you're making the argument that quantity of sin makes sin worse. So if you commit the same sin twice, that is
No.
okay.
No.
So you're
So
not
I-
saying that.
so I'm
Any
saying-
sin is just the same as if you sin one time. If the only sin I commit in my life is punching Sam in the face,
Okay.
or if I'm Adolf Hitler and kill 6 million people, we have the same amount of sin.
You do not have sin.
And
And this is very clear because people like Job in the Bible, God describes as righteous people. All right, Job was not a sinless man, though. All right, so it says in the book of Job that Job repented for his sins. He asked for forgiveness of his sins.
once you repent,
Well, in the book of Job, he committed the sin of questioning God. That's why God goes on this big lecture of, "Were you there when I laid the foundation of the earth? Did you create Behemoth and Leviathan? Do you know the feeding patterns of the birds?" I don't know. Some people say Leviathan is just, or I can't remember. One's a hippo and one's a crocodile.
The hippodile. Have you ever seen?
I don't know. They're probably extinct creatures or more mythical creatures that we could think of that we just don't know exist.
okay.
But
I don't believe that nomads exist. Like hunter-gatherers, I've convinced myself that they do not exist.
you don't have to do that.
Like when did I don't see them fitting into like the vibe with them. Like I just don't know where they come in. So I don't know if they exist.
After the Tower of Babel and all these people were separated, they had to forage for food.
But didn't he tell Adam that he was gonna have to work the ground with his hands? That was
Right away, he tells them that.
Fine,
So I
fine,
never,
fast
I
guy.
don't believe in the
Hey,
agricultural
yeah, the
revolution
podcast
anymore.
has to stop for a minute. We're getting a picture.
I don't believe it.
Podcast never.
That's how. Are we going serious or smile?
Serious.
Alright, yeah, I'm basically leave y'all alone.
What was that? I don't know what that was.
That's 285. Us being silly, just pull down the expansion underwear.
And also, I would say one of the biggest argument you hear for all sins being the same is what James 2:10 says, which says if you break any part of the law, you break it all. You know, you've broken the whole law by just committing any sin. But what the whole book, or the whole chapter of James 2, it starts with saying, do not commit the sin of partiality. If you have one neighbor who is poor, he's poorly clothed, you cannot show partiality to the rich neighbor that's nicely clothed, because that would be a sin. You're discriminating against him.
Wasn't
That was a call
And-
against the church at the time because they were being heavily oppressed, and it was basically telling them not to get on the favor.
Well, yeah, but then he connects this back to sin. He's basically saying when
Is that out of context?
direct.
though?
No, I'm trying to give you the context of James 2:10, which is that you cannot, in the same way that you cannot be partial to the well-clothed man and the poorly clothed man, you cannot be partial with your laws. You cannot only keep the laws you think are most important. You have to keep all the laws. You cannot show partiality in the law. And that's why he says, if you break any part of the law, you're a lawbreaker. You've committed sin, you're a sinner, you need forgiveness. So I think really that verse kind of implies that some people at the time believed that, yeah, there is grave matter sin, there's bigger sin, and then there's lesser matter sin. But even if you commit lesser matter sin, you are still a sinner and you're still a lawbreaker, and you need repentance.
Yeah, so that's like
So
It would have been a lot more like influential on me if Nick hadn't like dropped his pants in the middle of that.
so
Nick, what did
the
you do?
agricultural revolution and nomads because I do not believe they exist.
well, okay, but after the flood,
I don't understand
After
what-
the flood, after the Tower of Babel. Wait, I forget. Was the Tower of Babel after the flood?
There's that, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's like Noah comes, then they go build this Tower of Babel, and like according to like the historians that say the agricultural revolution, they say we need agriculture to have a community. So we got a big community here. We have a big tower, which means they had to have agriculture there. It's like they would obviously have it. It's like I don't believe in the agricultural revolution. I just do not. I don't believe in nomads. I just stopped.
So you don't believe that any people
Well, I believe it.
and any like the people that got separated from the Tower of Babel, you know, he separated them out across the earth. They migrated to different places. You don't think those people had to go through a nomadic phase?
I think some of them could have, but like they didn't have to. I think if they obviously they knew how to have that.
Maybe
because
it wasn't
right
a
from the
revolution.
beginning-
I don't know,
Yeah, I
because
just don't
Well,
believe it.
isn't that the whole thing where like
Well-
there's similar looking structures like
Yeah, because
all
they all
around the
come from the Tower
world?
of Babel.
Because like everyone like
Everyone's from
yeah,
Brazil,
from
and you
all
also
the
hear
different-
similar
they all did
stories
that
about
thing.
the flood. You'll hear pretty much all these all these native civilizations. They have these stories of, you know, the world being flooded, and they build a boat, and then these people arrive, and you all hear these same stories. But I think one thing that really
Because they were like before the world was a thing, it was just water and there was a snake. That's where Hinduism comes from, right? They were like it was just water.
I don't
And then
know.
God,
Hinduism-
Hinduism. They were like before the world was a thing, it was just water, and then the
Christians
God
believe that
made
too.
it.
well, do they believe in the elements, the four elements: earth,
not sure.
earth, water, fire, and
There's just a
and
snake in
wind.
the water, and then there's this big.
That's what the Greeks believed in. I was listening to this podcast about history of Western thought. Thales, the Greek philosopher, believed that the unifying element of the world is water. All right, and then you hear different philosophers say the unifying element of the world is fire.
The first.
And the reason they do that is because they identified fire with Zeus, which I think is kind of a foreshadow to our current understanding of the unifying element of the universe being spiritual things and God.
So
Are you gonna like make an Apple podcast?
there's gonna be some weird just parts in the middle of this.
Make a YouTube channel?
There's a like we believe there being water before like there's like God, and then like there's just like it says he was hovering over the face of the waters. So like just like it just so God had to create the waters, right? Does it just like do that outside of the Bible, or does it like were they just there? Like I want to know that. It doesn't really matter though, I guess. But
Well, I
I just
think
want to know.
God created the waters, and then He created the land to come out from
Oh
the.
yeah, but like before he starts creating, it says that he's there hovering over the waters.
Does it?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the
Yeah,
earth.
pull up. You have the Bible.
That's what it
up right
says.
now. Pull it up, Xander. You got your phone out. Pull